please.
Mr. Chair and members. Mr. Chair and members. Don Gilbert, representing the Bay Area Biosolids to Energy Coalition. The Bay Area Biosolids to Energy Coalition is comprised of 19 wastewater agencies in the Bay Area trying to get ahead of a problem that Mr. Salas's bill in the past has spoken to, which is what to do with biosolids as the ability to land apply them is removed. And what my client would like to do, 19 Bay Area wastewater agencies, is convert them into clean energy, but it's a very expensive proposition. You have before you a letter from many, many, many members of the Bay Area delegation requesting that this subcommittee augment the cap and trade program that you just discussed by $12 million to help match the cost of that project. And that's what we're asking you to do. That's what your colleagues who signed the letter are asking you to do. And I respectfully request that you do so. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Committee, Michael Pimentel with the California Transit Association.
There you go.
Thank you. I'd like
No
to thank
need to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'd like to thank the committee and the staff for the additional attention paid to transit in this item. It's very much appreciated. I did want to make a comment, however, on the $25 million for transit passes. Transit passes can have an impact on transit ridership. However, there is some past experiences with free passes going really to subsidize existing riders. And so while that may be a good thing for things like transit equity, we're not sure that it gets to the results and the exact outcome that you hope to get from the cap and trade program. We've generally understood investments from cap and trade to go toward new services, new operations. And so if this appropriation is sustained, we look forward to working with the committee and the administration to make sure that this works well. I'll further note that while we didn't ask for this form of additional transit assistance, we understand why groups that did ask for it support it. And so, again, we appreciate the investments that are being made. We hope to see some additional funds going toward furthering public transit operations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill McGavin with Coalition for Clean Air, and I want to thank the subcommittee for including the funding for transit passes, something we discussed a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Chairman. We have studies that indicate that they do, in fact, increase ridership, get people out of their cars, and therefore reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We also strongly support the increased funding for outreach to disadvantaged communities and the active transportation money. So thank you for those. In the administration's May revised proposal, we strongly support the increased funding for energy, urban forestry, and low-carbon transportation programs. Thanks.
Hello, Joshua Stark with Transform. First of all, to thank you for the staff recommendations, in particular for the $25 million for the active transportation program and $25 million for the transit pass program. I heard the gentleman previously mentioning just some concerns with the impact. We do have some studies here for some example of college transit passes, for example, showing changes between 71% and 200% increases in ridership. And that's from Professor Shoup et al. In 1999. But we have some other research that we're gathering together. I know this kind of came pretty quickly over the last couple of weeks, and we're gathering together that research to show the greenhouse gas reduction benefits of the programs. In addition, also supportive of the monies allocated for disadvantaged communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Michael Bocadoro, West Coast Advisors on behalf of the Ag Energy Consumers Association. Also wanted to comment on one of the programs where there's not increased funding in the Assembly proposal, and that's for dairy digesters. There was a modest increase in the May revise in the Governor's office from, I believe, $11 to $20 million in the CDFA program. Mr. Patterson and 14 of his colleagues in the Assembly and Senate did submit a letter for additional revenues going to the dairy digester program, and we would be very supportive of that. I think that should be considered. Dairy digesters represent among the programs that provide the best bang for the buck in terms of GHG reduction, and more importantly, all of that GHG reduction is methane, which is a short-lived climate pollutant, so the state will be seeing the benefits of that program more quickly than some of the others. Thank you.
Kirsten Kolpicki with the California Forestry Association in support of the Assembly's proposal, in particular the $50 million for biomass power generation grants to be provided by the California Energy Commission. The money would provide much needed support for biomass utilization in the forestry sector, not only assuring that the operating standalone plants can remain viable, but also providing an outlet for the biomass we produce on our lands beyond what we can consume in our own facilities. We believe biomass is particularly appropriate to be included as part of the legislature's strategy to identify spending priorities for cap and trade. Thank you.
Morning, Chair and members. Katrina Robinson on behalf of Audubon, California. We support the $10 million for the River Revitalization and Greenway Development Program at Natural Resources Agency, and we're excited about the potential greenhouse gas reductions for this program through vehicle miles traveled reductions, increases in carbon sequestration by restoring vegetation along rivers, and also the increase in energy efficiency reductions associated with reducing the urban heat island effect, especially in urban areas. We also are very supportive of funding for climate adaptation, and we hope that the committee would encourage spending for GGRF programs that have climate adaptation co-benefits. And finally, we support funding for wetlands and hope that no GGRF funding will go toward offsetting habitat mitigation requirements. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Jeannie Wardwaller with the California Bicycle Coalition, also a member of the Sustainable Communities for All Coalition. Just want to support the staff recommendation and thank the committee, and especially mention the support for the active transportation program funding and the transit pass funding and the disadvantaged communities assistance. Thank you very much.
They want to add. They want to make this. Good afternoon, Kelly Boyd on behalf of Greenleaf Power. Want to support the $50 million CEC allocation for biomass energy grants, environmental mitigation, both in the sourcing of the biomass and in the generation. I'd like to see it included next year as well.
Erica Rincon-Whitcomb on behalf of Policy Link in strong support of increased investment in the active transportation program as a program that meaningfully addresses the safety and mobility needs of our most vulnerable communities and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions across the state. Would also like to express our support for the technical assistance for disadvantaged communities. Thank you.
Noelle Kramers with the California Farm Bureau Federation, here in support of the $50 million to the California Energy Commission for biomass grants. Our forests in California are in need of significant thinning and work done to prevent forest fires and reduce the severity of forest fires, and helping ensure that there's plenty of biomass plants available for that thin material is an integral part of that work. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Charles Watson on behalf of Valley Clean Air Now, in support for the $8 million for community outreach to assist disadvantaged communities in accessing cap and trade funds for programs that reduce GHGs. Valley Can believes this funding is crucial to ensuring that cap and trade money gets out the door and to SB 535 disadvantaged communities. Thank you.
Kimberly Chen with the California Pan-Ethnic Health Network wanted to express our support and appreciation for the additional investments in active transportation, as well as the additional funding for disadvantaged communities to access cap and trade funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Russell Nowak on behalf of the California Biomass Energy Alliance, and I'd like to associate my comments with the four previous witnesses in support of the $50 million appropriation for the biomass grant from the CEC as part of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund spending plan. We think this would be a strong step forward in indicating that biomass is a critical resource in meeting our state's GHG reduction goals. Thank you very much.
Noah Paramo, representing California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation, in support of the $25 million for the active transportation grants and the $8 million outreach for the disadvantaged communities. Thank you.
Thank you all for your input. Are there any other comments or questions from the dais?
In wake of some of the testimony, there's been the request to increase the organics portion from 10 to 15, and I'll add that to my motion. So the motion would be to approve the May revise as brought to us by Department of Finance. Secondly, to add what would be $190 million. The 175 articulated in the staff report, the addition being $5 million additional to organics and $10 million for refining capacity for biodiesel.
Mr. Chairman?
Can we, Mr. Gordon and then Mr. Patterson?
If you would add a request to staff to clarify in the description of the organics programs at CalRecycle that sustainable disposal and use of biosolids would be one of the things that could be funded from that, then I would second the motion.
I will gladly add that to my motion.
All right. So with that proviso, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Patterson?
The only problem is I would like to support Mr. Gordon and the specifics of his request, but would not like to vote on the entire expenditures. Can we split?
How would you propose we do that?
Just
I will move the May revise and $175 million in total, not including the organics portion, but that's the figure in the staff report with the addition of $10 million for biodiesel refining capacity.
And I would second that.
So that's the one you're voting no on.
Can you restate the motion?
The motion would be the May revise plus $175 million, most of which is articulated in the staff report. The addition would be $10 million for biodiesel refining capacity, and taking out the $10 million for organics. I will make a motion on that shortly.
Understood. All right. If everybody understands the motion, we will proceed with a vote.
Bloom?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Obernolte?
Aye.
Patterson?
No.
Williams?
Aye.
Now you're going
Then I will move an addition on the May revise of $15 million to CalRecycle for organics, clarifying that certain biosolid projects should also qualify.
Second.
Give me a second. Okay.
Roll call, please.
Bloom?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Obernolte?
Aye.
Patterson?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the consideration.
You're welcome, Mr. Patterson. And that closes out the discussion on cap and trade. Our other item to be heard, pulled off of the vote-only calendar, is the what was issue number 28, I suppose it still is, from the Board of Pilot Commissioners agenda, and that's the rate increase issue.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, the cap and trade matter we had earlier, we were going to hear from the vote only.
Yeah, there's still that issue. Oh, item
18, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. I am sorry. Yes. That is issue 18, and that is also under, well, we'll hear it. I was going to hear it at the end, but we can hear that.
Perfect. In substitute to it, can I just make a motion on item 18?
Yes.
What, in the wake of the Nexus issue, and to get around the Nexus issue, but to still be able to do the leakage study, I'd like to move that we approve the $500,000 for a leakage study through ARB using revenues from AB 32 cost of implementation fee rather than cap and trade revenues.
I would second.
All right. Then we have a motion.
$500,000 one time.
So with the understanding that that's one-time money
We'll put it on.
and allocation, then I think we can move ahead with a vote.
Thank you.
Bloom.
Aye.
Gordon. Aye. Obernolte.
Aye.
Patterson.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
It's 5-0.
Mr. Chairman and members, thank you very much.
Our final issue then will be the Bar Pilot Commissioner's rate increase request. Yes, we're going to hear this item now. Welcome. Why don't you go right ahead and introduce yourself? Did you have a presentation that you wanted to make on this? No, you're here to answer questions. All right. Yes. All right, Mr. Patterson, since you requested that this be subject to a hearing, did you want to make some introductory comments? And I know there's at least one person here from the commission, Mr. Garfinkel, who I think we should hear comments from.
I appreciate the fact that we're hearing this. As I said earlier, it appears to me this is a rate increase that we have not had a chance to examine it before the committee, and I think we've talked about this before. I think budget process going through this way with a significant fee increase and a policy deviates from some historical approaches that we use when rate increases are considered. The Pacific Merchant Shipping Association asked that they could state opposition and be afforded for that opportunity prior to the vote, and that would be the request.
Mr. Garfinkel, did you have comments that you'd like to present to
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Subcommittee?
I just want to state that the Board of Pilot Commissioners held hearings on this issue for 3 days, April 1st, April 2nd, and then deliberated on April 3rd, heard testimony from various witnesses from the San Francisco Bar Pilots and opposition from Pacific Merchant Shipping Association. At the end of those hearings, the board deliberated and came to the finding of and recommendation of a rate increase. One, to include a technology surcharge on the bar pilots' rates, which would fund new navigation technology for the bar pilots to utilize in the performance of their jobs. And then two, to grant an increase for the next 4 years, starting in 2016, of 3%. 2016, 3%, 2017, 2%, 2018, and 2% 2019. The bar pilots have not had a increase in their rates since 2006, and that's the board's recommendation.
All right, thank you. Is there any comment from Department of Finance?
J.C. Thompson, Department of Finance. We would just note that generally these rate increases are handled through the policy process.
And are there any members of the public who'd like to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, members, Mike Jake with Pacific Merchant Shipping Association. I appreciate you pulling the item from vote only to hear some testimony today. We do think that the rate hearing deserves to stay in court, but if you allow me to continue the analogy, right jurisdiction, wrong venue. We think that you really do need to have the recommendation afforded today in front of the legislature, in front of the policy committee. Unfortunately, there's no vehicle for it that's been identified yet. The recommendation also hasn't formally been presented, to my knowledge, to the Secretary of the Senate or the Chief Clerk of the Assembly yet, which is a prerequisite of its consideration. So moving forward now through the Budget Committee process, seems premature and deviates from our standard, which is going through this hearing in a very robust way. Because what you're going to be presented with when it's formal is a recommendation. And the legislature has not typically rubber stamped that or just implemented it whole and cloth. In fact, in 2011, it was rejected entirely. So the issue for us is we would like it to move through a policy committee. We would like to proceed through that policy process, which is what normally occurs. And actually, we did have some very positive negotiations with the bar pilots prior to the hearing in front of the Board of Pilot Commissioners. We did not come to resolution on most of the substantive matters, but we did come to resolution on a provision with respect to stipulation of future expenses, which will be the crux, I think, of a lot of the policy making with respect to what a future rate should be. So we actually would commend the pilots for working with us proactively on the front end of the hearing process, but we don't think that that ends with the recommendation. We think that ends with the legislature and having those recommendations with you in your policy committees and interacting with us in that process. So moving forward, what we'd like to do is have this moved into a vehicle that is not a trailer bill. It can go to Second House Policy Committee, and then these rates, if they're adopted, are effective January 1st, not July 1st. So no one's prejudiced by giving us the additional time to try to work something out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Peter McIsaac, San Francisco Bar Pilots. I am a pilot and the president of the association. And I'd just like to thank the subcommittee for hearing this matter and considering this matter. This was a duly noticed petition that was done with the rate hearing guidelines that are in regulation. And our original petition was rejected. And we think that the commission came up with something in the middle between the two. And I would like to say that in every other maritime state, with the exception of New York, the process is where either the State Board of Pilot Commissioners or the Fee Commission they don't make a recommendation, they actually set the rate. So, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation, just here in support of the staff recommendation to approve the trailer bill language. We would just echo the comments of the previous witness that there has been a process that did take place where experts involved, the commission took a look at all the issues, spent days considering everything, and determined that these were the appropriate rates. And we would also point out that the commission includes 3 members of the public, 2 bar pilots, and 2 members of the shipping association, and the vote was unanimous. And so we think that the process worked. We think that the rate increases make sense, and we would urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further comments, is there a motion? Then let's see. I'll try a motion, see if we get a second. I'm guessing that's not going to happen. So I think we'll hold this item open. And I'll just add a comment. It does seem like a very unusual situation here where we have a commission that is allocated the responsibility for holding the hearings, but then there's another set of hearings that's expected to actually then approve a rate increase. That does seem like a very unusual situation and maybe something we should consider fixing in the future. But then again, this is the first time I've seen the issue and I don't know much about it. So we'll see where this goes in the future. Thank you all for being here. This does bring our hearing to a conclusion.
Chairman, one very quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
We had reference to the letter with respect to the digesters that I authored, and it was sent to the governor, and it was signed by all the senators and both Democrat and Republican in Central California with large digester large dairies. I just wanted to point out that the request was for I think it was $100 million per year for 5 years. Is that correct? I think that's what it was. My understanding is that the governor has in his budget a $20 million amount. Is that correct?
Is the administration still here?
We were.
My folks.
And members, and Mr. Chairman, I know it's a long day, and I know this is, but the request was made. I am just attempting to discover, is there an interest or an appetite in bumping this up? If so, I know the signatories of the letter would appreciate it. If not, we certainly understand that.
Mr. Gordon.
Just understand. To my colleague, you're saying the governor put some money for this activity in his cap and trade or in the general budget?
Cap and trade.
In cap and trade.
In cap and trade. Okay.
The May revision, $20 million is to be available to support agriculture, energy, and operation efficiency activities that reduce methane emissions in the dairies.
Okay.
The request from members was substantially more than that. It was $100 million over 5 years. I know that's a big number. If there was some interest in bumping the $20 million in the budget, I would be interested in exploring that, and we may want to have, I don't know, a time for some discussion. Time's running out, I think, but I at least wanted to bring it up. If there is an interest in pursuing a larger number, I'm glad to have folks make the case. If not, I certainly understand it, but I appreciate the consideration.
My suggestion would be that we encourage the conference committee to look at this item, and that we perhaps because the conference committee is going to be reviewing all of the cap and trade at some point. So maybe there's a way to encourage that. Mr.
I think we can do that by setting a different amount. But let's hear from Department of Finance.
Anthony Simbo from the LAO. The governor's
LAO.
January budget included $5 million for the dairy digesters, and they may revise that another $20 million. So the governor's package has $25 million.
And Mr. Patterson, were you saying $100 million over 5 years?
$100 million per year for 5 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which I would. My guess would be we'd be interested in half a loaf if we can't get a full loaf. But I do think that it is. I think the letter made a significant case, and I think the governor recognized it in at least putting in the amount. If we can bump that up significantly, I think we're going to get some serious GHG reduction in ways that I think the proponents of this have made pretty clear, and it is a bipartisan Central Valley contingent of support with the request.
With the request for an increase, I have no problem with the program. I think it is a great program that helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions and also has co-benefits in the Central Valley in terms of providing jobs and providing fuel for trucks that operate in that industry. So it's a great program, and I have no problem providing additional funds. It's just a question of the mix and how far we want to go with this. I'll add another $5 million to it. That would take it up to $30 million.
Second.
I was going to suggest that we move it to $100 million, but if we're not getting anywhere close to that, I can understand it.
Well,
I would not dare make a substitute motion.
I think every little bit helps. We do have to recognize that there are some limits. And so we have a motion and a second. Let's see how that goes.
Bloom?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Obernolte?
Aye.
Patterson?
Aye.
Williams?
All right, that passes. And yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to follow up on your comment about the hearing. When we do have a hearing package soon to be forthcoming to the legislature, which will include all the testimony and all the evidence that the board reviewed. And that is only being held up by clarifications to the testimony record, but it'll soon be forthcoming.
And that comes before committee?
That'll be sent to both houses, whether it comes directly to the committee or not, I'm not.
And what's the process that's followed that leads to approval or disapproval?
That I'm unaware. I know that the board holds the hearing, and we will submit to you all the evidence that the board reviewed, plus the testimony.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. Well, then that, I think, brings us now to the end of our hearing. This is the last regular hearing for the Budget Subcommittee this year, and I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who participates in our hearing process from beginning to end, and that's a pretty big job, particularly for those who serve on this committee. And so I want to thank each of the subcommittee members for all the time that you put in reading materials, considering the issues, and then here in the committee room considering and voting on issues. But I want to leave for last some appreciation for the staff who supports us here. This has been a particularly heavy year for the subcommittee, and there's been no increase in staffing. It's the same staff that we've had here for every year since I've been here, who are toiling with and handling a significantly larger caseload and workload. So we really owe you a debt of gratitude for the many hours that you have put in and will put in as the budget process moves forward. So thank you very much for that. Mr. Patterson?
Thank you. On behalf of the minority, Mr. Chairman Bloom, thank you very, very much for the courtesy that has been extended. Thank you for the quality of the staff and the work that has been done. I for one, and I know Jay joins me in it. We do appreciate that, and we thank you for it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. And on that very nice note, we're adjourned. Oh, do we?